I am Themistocles, son of Neocles, born in the city of Athens around 524 BC. My mother was of non-Athenian origin, from Thrace or Curia, and this mixed heritage played a significant role in shaping my early life and my relationship with the aristocratic circles of Athens. I was not born into privilege, yet from a young age, I exhibited a sharp mind and an unquenchable ambition. It became clear to me that if I were to rise in power and influence, I would have to rely not on noble lineage but on my intellect and strategy. I grew up during a time when Athens was undergoing great changes. The city-state was moving toward democracy under the reforms of Cleisthenes, which allowed men like me, without aristocratic backgrounds, a chance to make a name for ourselves. I quickly realized that the key to power in a democracy was the support of the people, not the aristocrats. So, I set about cultivating the favor of the common folk. I frequented the agora, the marketplace, speaking with tradesmen, artisans, and farmers, learning their concerns, and presenting myself as one of them. Through rhetoric and public speeches, I managed to garner significant influence, and soon enough, I entered the political stage. My first major political success came when I was elected archon in 493 BC, a significant office in Athenian politics. This role gave me the platform I needed to push for reforms that I believed were crucial to Athens' future. At that time, Athens was growing in power but lacked the naval strength to match its ambitions. I recognized early on that the seas were the key to Athens' security and prosperity. The greatest external threat to Athens during my early career was the Persian Empire. In 490 BC, during the first Persian invasion of Greece, I witnessed the Athenians' stunning victory at the Battle of Marathon, where Miltiades and his forces managed to repel the much larger Persian army. While this victory was significant, I understood that the Persians would return, and next time, they would come with overwhelming force. With this knowledge, I began pushing for Athens to build a powerful navy. The discovery of a large silver vein in the mines of Laurium provided the perfect opportunity. Many Athenians wanted to distribute the wealth among the people, but I argued passionately that the funds should be used to build a fleet of warships, specifically triremes, swift, agile vessels that would dominate the seas. My arguments won the day, and Athens began constructing what would become the most formidable navy in Greece. By 480 BC, the Persians, under King Xerxes, returned as I had anticipated. This time, they arrived not only by land but also with a massive fleet. I knew that Athens alone could not face this threat, so I helped to forge a fragile alliance with other Greek city-states, including Sparta. The Persian forces were vast, their army numbering in the hundreds of thousands, and their fleet was said to be invincible. The odds seemed insurmountable, but I had faith in my strategy and the Athenian navy. We first engaged the Persian fleet at Artemisium, a series of naval skirmishes fought simultaneously with the famous Battle of Thermopylae, where King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans made their legendary stand. Though we were outnumbered, the narrow straits of Artemisium worked to our advantage, preventing the larger Persian fleet from fully deploying. While the battle was indecisive and both sides suffered losses, it demonstrated the effectiveness of our triremes and bought us valuable time. The true test came soon after at the Battle of Salamis, one of the defining moments of my life and, indeed, of all Greek history. After the fall of Thermopylae and the sack of Athens, many believed all hope was lost. Yet I remained resolute. I knew that the key to defeating the Persians lay not in land battles but at sea. I devised a cunning plan to lure the Persian fleet into the narrow straits of Salamis, where their numbers would be a disadvantage rather than a strength. To do this, I sent a message to Xerxes, feigning betrayal, and convinced him that the Greeks were divided and that if he attacked quickly, he could secure an easy victory. Xerxes, believing me, ordered his fleet into the straits, and there we struck. The Persian fleet, too large and unwieldy for the confined waters, was caught off guard by the speed and maneuverability of our triremes. The chaos that ensued was exactly what I had hoped for. The Greek ships, led by the Athenians, rammed and sank many of the Persian vessels. The battle was a decisive victory for us. Xerxes, humiliated, was forced to retreat, leaving behind a portion of his army under the command of Mardonius. Salamis was not just a military victory. It was a psychological blow to the Persians and a symbol of Greek unity and resolve. It proved that even a small, fragmented group of city-states could stand up to the mightiest empire in the world if they fought smartly and strategically. For me personally, it was the culmination of years of work and foresight, and it cemented my reputation as one of Athens' greatest leaders. After the victory at Salamis, I was at the height of my influence and fame. My vision for Athens as a naval power had been vindicated, and I was hailed as the savior of Greece. However, as is often the case with power, envy and opposition began to grow. My enemies in Athens, particularly the aristocrats, who had always viewed me with suspicion due to my populist tendencies, began to conspire against me. I continued to advocate for a strong navy and pushed for Athens to take a leading role in the Greek world. Under my guidance, the city rebuilt itself after the Persian invasion, and I oversaw the fortification of the Piraeus, Athens' primary harbor, further solidifying our naval dominance. However, my political enemies, led by figures such as Aristides and Cimon, began to undermine me. They accused me of being too ambitious, of seeking to make myself a tyrant. In 471 BC, I was ostracized, a mechanism the Athenians used to protect themselves from those they perceived as a threat to democracy. Despite my contributions, I was exiled from the city I had saved. My exile was a bitter pill to swallow, but I bore it with the dignity of one who knew his true worth. I wandered for several years, eventually finding refuge in Persia, of all places. Xerxes' son, Artaxerxes, welcomed me into his court, recognizing the value of a man like me. Though ironic, my presence in Persia gave me a unique perspective on the empire I had once fought so hard to defeat. I spent my final years in relative peace, advising the Persian king and reflecting on the twists of fate. Though I lived far from Athens, I never stopped caring for my city. I knew that the work I had done, building its navy, securing its future, would endure long after my death. I passed away around 459 BC, far from the land of my birth, but my legacy lived on. The Athenian navy I had championed became the cornerstone of the Delian League, an alliance that made Athens the most powerful city-state in Greece for decades to come. My strategy at Salamis was studied for generations, and I was remembered not just as a great general and politician, but as a visionary who understood that the future of Athens lay in its control of the seas. As I look back on my life, I see a story of ambition, vision, and the willingness to challenge the status quo. I was not born into power or privilege, but through sheer force of will, I shaped the destiny of Athens and, in many ways, the course of Greek history. I believed in the power of strategy, in the idea that even the greatest of enemies could be defeated through intelligence and cunning. I was not without my faults. My ambition sometimes led me to overreach, and my political maneuvers made me many enemies. But I regret none of it. I did what I believed was necessary for the survival and prosperity of Athens. I may have been exiled from my home, but the city I loved prospered because of the decisions I made. In the end, I take pride in the fact that I was not just a man of war but a man of vision. My name is Themistocles, and though I may have lived far from my city in my final years, my heart never left Athens.